So it is time to address the front end on our 1975 step-side diesel pickup. I can't get the whole front clip in one video. I've been working on this for a while, and it's so much metal work because I'm saving a rusted front end, completely rusted front end. You'll see. If you watch it, you'll see. Anyway, it snowballed into this whole big thing, and I've been working on this, well, for weeks in my spare time, and I can't get it all in one video, so I apologize for that because it's just so much. I didn't want to sell short and just, cram it down and, put there's enough time lapse in there anyway without just turning the whole big thing into one time lapse of welding and cutting and grinding and installing and all that. So I wanted to show a little bit of detail about how I'm actually saving this and trying to do it sort of the right way. So what I'm saying is I've got to split it into two videos. So this is going to be part one of the front clip. So without more talking, let's get into it. Well, let's do some evaluation of the front clip that came off this truck. See if it's repairable. I'm not confident so far. This is an awful lot of Bondo that was used down here. There's a lot of metal missing. I don't know. I need the inner and outer sections, front and back. Up here we have the shape preserved, so I could probably fabricate something up for that. But this here, I don't know if you can even get the inner skins. I'm not sure. That's bad. Much worse than I remembered. The actual inner fender here, I mean, I have the rough shape that it's supposed to be. The main problem is what's left isn't so great either. It's bad. This fender, driver's fender, not a whole lot better. We have a little bit more preserved shape on that side, so I could probably salvage the front without too much effort. The thing back here is there's a bolt point that's missing on both of these. It has to align with the cab. This inner fender, again, worse than I remember. I don't know, it's so far gone that it'd almost take as much metal to patch it as it would to just replace it at that point. I am not sure what to do with that. I don't have the money to get new parts. I don't have the money to get used parts. What about this hood? I have been debating this front clip in my mind this entire time. I mean, that's all repairable. There's, again, lots of Bondo. It is kind of repairable, and it's not kinked. There's a spot back here, you can kind of see it on the top where it's rusted through, that would need to be repaired around the hinge point where the hinge bolts on. Not sure that it's worth it. I have to get the patch panels. It's not that I can't form these things up. Back here, it's where the bolt point goes. That has to be fairly precise. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, but it has to line up enough that you can adjust your fender, because the whole fender point is adjusted by these 2 points, and then up front where it bolts to the core support. I don't know. I don't know. I hate to throw anything away. I hate to give up on anything. I have to go back to the drawing board on that. See what I can find on Marketplace. Everybody wants a fortune for their rusty junk, and most of their stuff looks like this or worse. And well, there is another option, as much as I hate to discuss it. There is this truck, which, although the front clip is rusty, it is in much better shape than our front clip over there. This one is what I would actually call repairable. you know, it's got a few spots, but the majority and shape of the fenders there. Same with the inner fenders are good. The hood, although it's kinked, you know, it's about the same as the other one, so I have to figure out how to save a hood in between them. And over here again, there's rust down there, but the bolt points are intact and can be repaired and fixed because everything is, the locations of everything are pretty good. I don't know, I hate to pull apart a running driving truck, but no one wants to buy this thing. I'm not asking a lot of money for it, but nobody thinks a running driving square body is worth any money, I guess, just because it has a little rust on it. Well, I don't know. Well, core support, radiator core support. I think it's time maybe to start looking at that. So obviously we need to clean this up. I think what we're going to have to do is weld this metal back in and then drill bolt holes later. But this is the shape that we need to follow here. And I know this looks bad, but as far as square body core supports go, this is actually not too bad. What can we take metal from? The doors are kind of thin. I'm going to replace the 86 with this, so I can't really rob metal from this very easily. I have metal that's too thick. This plate over here, I mean, if you don't ever want it to rot out, that's the way you want to go. Problem is, I don't know how easy she is to bend. Well, get our measurements. I might be able to use that sheet over there. See, this is the outside. As far as that goes, we could wrap it around here. We can clean this up and coat it and wrap it around here and weld it, because this is starting to rot anyway. One thing we have to do is we have to get all this junk off here. We're not using this old condenser, so that's going to come off. I'm going to take the headlight buckets off because I think these get so rusted and seized. I have a feeling I might have to replace these. Let's start taking stuff apart. Alright, we got her stripped down. For the next stage, I have to do some cleanup, and there's some little areas like down there that probably are going to get patched. Make sure to keep that so we know roughly how to recreate it. It doesn't have to be perfect because, again, the critical things are already there. And I mean, basically the main critical things are the support points, and they are not corroded. So this piece, it's not in great shape. It definitely needs some help along the front, which I knew it was going to because those fasteners ripped out, and of course it's got some holes there, bad corrosion. But it occurred to me that we have our 86 truck that we're taking other parts off of, and we're going to be taking the fenders and reworking the fenders for this truck, because these fenders are repairable, unlike the yellow fenders that came off the 75 originally. And this piece has no corrosion, unlike the yellow one, which is all chipped out from rust along the bottom. But it occurred to me that this one is very easily cleanable, upable, and everything in it is intact. It just needs a little bit of cleanup. And since we're going to be stealing parts off of this anyway, I'm thinking, what would stop us from stealing some more parts? Also, in case you were wondering, I do this all by hand when I take apart these rusty fasteners, because the quickest way to break and snap these old rusty fasteners off is with power tools. And then you're in a bind and you've got to waste more time. So it's worth a little bit extra time to just do it by hand. Use some lubrication and take out those old rusty fasteners. Some of these fasteners have probably never been out before, and the rest of them probably hadn't been out for 30 years. So it worked. We didn't snap off a single one in this core support. Okay, so I'm going to start out by fabricating two pieces that are going to look like this. They're gonna have this full shape. They're gonna go down under and up the other side. So I'll be wrapping around this, and that'll solve a couple of problems. I'm going to use this 1/8 inch plate. It's not fun to work with, but it's thick enough that you can easily put bends in it by scoring a line with a grinder with a cutoff wheel, and then just hammering the lip over, and you can get a pretty, well, hopefully pretty nice lip out of that. Well, where were we? Just ignore my neighbor's lawnmower over there. I decided to mow today, I guess. Figures. Well, this thing has been sitting here for like 2 weeks out in the weather, and you know, she's starting to rust again because I didn't have time to do anything with it. Some rush jobs came up that just absolutely needed done, you know, and since they actually pay me to do those, you know, well, yeah, the unpaid work has to wait. So we're gonna, well, I don't even know what we're gonna do here. Can't remember where we were. I think this one goes on like this. I don't, sure. I think we're gonna weld that on like that. Weld it and bend it back into shape a little bit there. I don't know. I don't remember what I was doing. And this one gonna go on like that. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, that could be kind of right-ish or misconstrued as such. What I should do is go out and buy a new core support with my money that I made working all that, you know, working all that time. But yeah, you know, you got to pay the rent too. So what do I want to do here? Well, first of all, I got to get some of this rust cleaned up again and wire brush it again, and then maybe put on some rust converter in areas we can't access after we weld plates on there, and I don't know. Let's see where we wind up. So these little Harbor Freight 1-ton welders actually can make a decent bead when all the conditions are right, and you know, the metal's thick enough, and I know it doesn't look like it, but there actually is good penetration there. It's decent. It'll hold. I have to take out, there's a little bit of a curve here. It's straight up to here, but then it kind of curves out from where I was hammering the metal. I need to get it in that way. I need to find a clamp, you know, to snick it together. So let's do that. I am going to try to burn it in a little bit here as much as I can. And I am going to burn it in from the other side, but where the metal's a little stronger and thicker. But I am going to try to put some beads in here at least to get some holding power. And move my helmet here. And I'm just going to try to burn it in a little bit here where the metal's nice and thick. It's not terribly important because this doesn't like hold a ton of weight or anything, but you know, it does hold the fenders and the front clip together. So we'll try to get it decently strong, is what I'm saying. Well, of course my camera went dead, but I rust converted and painted and coated this thing. So this is one of the differences between like a $70,000 truck and like a, you know, a normally priced truck, lower price. My buddy Doug over on his channel, Doug's Trucks and Stuff, posted a short. He was visiting a dealership for another purpose, and he came across a $70,000 square body, posted a short on it. Anyway, long story short, he got a lot of comments saying that truck is way overpriced. I can build 5 for that price. And well, yeah, maybe, but you know, if you're going to do a high dollar build, these are the things that get replaced. You're not going to see them on the final build. They're going to be hard to see because, you know, they're behind headlights and radiators and batteries, and you can't really see the things underneath. So if somebody did that, you don't know. For my purposes, and for anybody who buys this truck who is going to drive it, I hope, because I'm building this as a drivable truck. This isn't something I want to sit in a mall or a garage. You know, I want somebody to use it, whether it's me or somebody else. And so by keeping the budget low, I can make it affordable for somebody, or for me in this case. But if I decide to sell it, it's going to be relatively affordable for someone, because I'm not putting in, you know, hundreds of new parts that cost, you know, a couple $100 each. Yeah, you can get a new core support, but they're like, you know, $200-300 shipped to your door, which is not terribly expensive for what it is. But when you do that with all the parts in the truck, it adds up pretty quick. And that's a lot what people don't understand. When you're buying one of those trucks, you're buying all new parts underneath. It's like buying a new truck when you buy one of these $60,000-$70,000 square bodies. We put this on, we're gonna have to drill out the holes for the fender liners, and I don't have a reference for those holes right now because, you know, I have to match everything up on the truck. So when we put that on and we have fender liners ready to go on, which I don't have yet, then we'll take care of that. I have new body mounts for it somewhere. Put those on with new rubber if I can find them. Yep. Okay, next step. Basically got a piece of cardboard between the fan and the radiator, and we are going to move on to the other parts next, now that that's out of our limited work area space. Fenders. So all you guys out there who thought that these fenders were not relatively easily savable when I mentioned that several times, well, I'm about to prove to you what I was saying. I'm going to take these fenders off and save them, because these fenders, this is a not savable fender. This is what I would call not economically savable. Could you save it? Yes. Should you save it? No. If you've got that fender without a viable alternative, just buy a repop one or a used one. So yes, I could spend a couple $100 to buy a repopped fender, an inner fender, but I don't have the money, so we're gonna pull this off and save it. So we're gonna undo everything we did when we redid the front clip of this vehicle. So yeah, let's do that. All right, well, to those of you who said, well, that truck's a piece of junk, it can't get any worse, challenge accepted. It's worse. I wanted to note, I'm keeping these chrome strips. They're expensive and hard to get. Well, if somebody's going to pay me, well, a lot less than I wanted it for it originally, you're not getting all the chrome on it. Sorry, but that's the way it goes. If you don't want to pay for it, you don't get it. Somebody come buy this thing, restore it, drive it, turn it into a rat rod. I don't care what you do with it. Just come get it off my property, because I got way too many vehicles and projects right now. So yes, please buy this. Make my significant other happy. Get it out of my yard. All right, I pulled all the parts off this truck that I'm going to use, basically the best of them. I cannot pull off this center support. This one's in better condition, but the latches are different. This one is a center latch. So we got this fender, which we just have to do a little bit of work there, do a little bit of work up here. The inner part of this is really good. It's not rusty, so we just have to cut out and patch that. And over here, the same thing. We just have to cut out and patch this section. I won't know really what it looks like until I start stripping off this paint and coating, and we'll see how far the rust extends. Fortunately, this down here, the perimeter that we need to use as a guide to form up our metal pieces, is intact and in good shape, and the back is intact with the threaded insert to fasten it on, unlike the yellow ones. Here, same thing. Our perimeter is intact. We'll just have to see. Actually, we might not have to cut. Well, I won't say that until it happens. Unfortunately, this is a little rusty there, but I think it'll be just fine. Once we get the clip on there, it'll be okay. This fender, same deal on the other side. There's a little bit of inside there that we may or may not patch. I probably won't worry too much about the inside, the inner fender. Not the inner fender, the inside of the outer fender. The inner fender is what goes in here. Anyway, they're both very intact around this area, which is good. This is from that running board. I have to take that off and patch the hole. Perimeter is intact. This one has a little bit more missing here, but that's fine. I'm going to use these hinges because these are better. So I'm using these springs rather than the original hood springs that were on the truck, because the joints are a little less loose and these aren't quite as bound up. The headlight buckets are pretty good. We're just going to have to probably drill out the retaining screws so that we can get the headlights on, but the chrome and everything is good. These braces, that screw needs drilled out. Maybe I can save the plastic, I hope so, because I don't have, well, I guess I'm gonna have to get some of them to hold the grill on, maybe. Not sure on that yet. The retainers for the inner fender are still there and in good shape. I believe almost all of them. Yes. So overall, these fenders are quite repairable. I would have repaired them when I built the crew cab, but I had the front clip and it was quicker and I needed that truck in service, so I opted to swap the front clip. But now we'll get to see that I was right. They were actually repairable. Over here, this inner fender on the driver's side, I think, is quite good. This is the part that usually rots out. There's only this one section here, which I can easily patch. I did pull, before I installed the yellow fenders, I pulled these off. I probably won't reuse them because it's not a C20. Just the inconsistency. I like the diesel tags, but the inconsistency of the 20 and the 10, it doesn't work for me. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I may just weld up the holes where the tags go and not put any on. This piece is much better than the yellow piece. It's only just a little bent up here, which we can easily unbend. And this is the other inner fender. And this one, it has issues. Not sure if it's worth fixing. Since I only have to get one, maybe I can afford it. Maybe I can afford to buy one inner fender. I'm not sure. I'll have to see how much they are. I don't like the idea of spending more money than I have to. The better of the two front pieces here. I know you might not think this is better, but it is. The other one had a lot more rot where the clips went through for the chrome. And, well, you know, it's just better all around. It's less rusty. So I put the other one on the other truck. Here's the hood latch I was talking about. You can see how it's off center. I think this is because the grill is different. This had the 75 Chevy grill and the other one had a 78 GMC grill. So the other one was centered here, so this is offset. And the other one has a hole up here for the latch to go through, but this one doesn't need it. It goes around it. It's shaped different. So those parts are not interchangeable. So those are the parts we're going to use. Like these parts, we'll just remove the screw grommets to hopefully replace them and wire brush them, coat them, paint them. I think these parts will clean up pretty good. So let's figure out what we're doing first, and I think we're probably doing this first. We'll clean that up and see where we're at. All right, my camera went dead there from the heat, as it usually does. We have an inner fender. Yeah, she's got some patchwork, and she's got some patchwork from previous people here. That's fine. I don't care about that. This isn't even an invisible section, but the most important thing is it's solid and it's there. Got some other parts we're going to put in. You know, hood latch and bracketry and our front piece here. All right, core support's coming back together. So we'll be ready for the fenders and inner fenders. We'll just have to match them up and drill there when we put the inner fenders on. So we're getting there. So I'm going to use the roof of our old cab. You know, it has some surface rust in spots where the paint chipped away, but it's good metal. I think it's actually a little thicker than this. This has already been patched once. You can kind of, I think you can kind of see there's a weld line there. I'm going to do my best to reform and patch this again. I don't care if it looks very factory. Even the factory isn't very good. You know, there's all kinds of stress lines and everything, and some strength lines and everything from when they build it. I don't care. I just want it to be solid and be bolted on. So we just got to kind of make that and curve it up, and I probably won't put that little divot thing at the edge. I don't care about that. So we're just going to cut out a section here and kind of bend it up, and we'll match it up here and make a cut line and weld it together. So all right, we have another inner fender. So it's not perfect, definitely not perfect at all. My patches are not great, especially there around the curve. I got into some rust that I should have cut more rust out and formed up more metal, but you know, you start chasing pinholes. And well, anyway, this isn't a concern. I don't even grind these welds because, you know, it's strong and that's all that matters. So the next step is to get some fenders here and, well, repair them. That's what I'm saying. Fender numero 10. So I guess I'll start with the harder one first. The thing to remember with these panels is this is a very concise, straight section here, and this is a solid curve here, but then when the two blend together, it's kind of difficult in here. But fortunately we have enough preserved that I think I have a good deal to follow. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to go because, well, I'm not good at metal shaping. It's probably pretty solid up in here that we can cut a seam and weld from there. I think we can cut along this corner, but we'll have to see. That'll keep us from having to bend this and weld it with relief cuts. It'll also make forming this outer sheet a little easier. I don't have an English wheel or anything fancy like that, so you know, this might take me all day, but since my time is worthless and I don't have any money to buy a new fender, I think we'll be fine. Now we'll do the same thing over here. Basically, this is going to be a little bit easier because it's smaller and the curves are less deep. That's why I say it's going to be easier. And then of course this is going to be the easiest of all because the curves are hardly there. Now this, it's critical. There is a barely visible straight lip around here, and then it kind of curves in from that. You got to be real careful to preserve that, otherwise it looks funny. A couple, I don't know if you can see them, there's like 3 dents up here, but if I wanted to make it perfect, a skim coat of body filler would do that. I don't think I'm going to worry about it because, you know, there's lots of little imperfections. If you've seen the previous videos, you'll see all the little imperfections in my body work that are there because I didn't really want to use body filler. I only used it where I had to, which wasn't a lot of places. So, you know, a lot of people, when they're doing a really nice build, you know, they'll skim coat the whole thing to make it nice and smooth and straight, and I don't really like that. I'd like the raw metal, and well, I'm not going to take the time to hammer it out perfect. You know, it also preserves some of the character of the original truck, having it be that way too. So I've got many excuses for not correcting that, is what I'm saying. Anyway, enough talking, let's get to work. Alright, just have to bear with me upside down here. So I decided to do this piecemeal after struggling to do it all in one piece, kind of beating it into shape. Well, that's not really going to work. So this line kind of, it follows the same curvature, so a little bit of flare out here. I'm going to have to do a little bit of final shaping with my hammer and dolly, but we're getting close. I gotta form up this piece. That's gonna be the hardest piece because it's a compound curve. And I gotta wrap these around the back side. I'm going to cut some of this out and kind of roughly form this shape. Now again, this isn't terribly visible. It's mostly, you know, back there where I haven't done any grinding yet or anything. Don't criticize my welds because they're all going to get ground down, but the curvature, I did pretty good without warping the metal so far. So we got the curvature pretty good and we got the general shape pretty good. So I think I'm going to take it up to about here, cut this one off, and then reform this to get that shape. So yeah, I'll just keep cruising along here. Alright, I got the shape roughed out. There's a lot of grinding and I have to do some hammer work on there, get it just a little bit better, but the general shape is roughed in there. So don't mind my welds. Thin sheet metal in this welder again, but yeah, lots of grinding there, lots of filling, and yeah, we're getting there. Didn't just stuff a rag in it and fill it with Bondo, that's for sure. So I got more of these online because I run the other ones taking them out, and these things aren't cheap. I had to spend like 20 bucks to get 4 of them. You can get them in larger quantities, and obviously they're cheaper, but I don't need larger quantities. I think I've mentioned it before, but little details like that are things you get in an expensive truck. When you buy, you know, a cheaper build, and people like to compare cheaper builds to more expensive builds, but little things like that, or if they just, you know, jank it together with some kind of not right screw threaded insert, you know, it's not right. And while I don't care about right on this build, I don't really want to jank it together that badly. But what I was saying was, in an expensive build, the whole truck is done that way, and all those little things cost a lot of money and add up. And that's what people don't understand. Like, just those little fasteners are 20 bucks. Well, you do that all over and it adds up pretty quick, is what I'm saying. Well, I don't know if that showed up on video, but I was not confident in my body work so much that I mixed up way too much Bondo. And all I needed was, you know, a skim coat to kind of fill my welding divots. And I used hardly any, actually, to run that. And I think once I sand that down, then it's just going to need some finishing and it'll be fine. I started slopping it on there, and that's why it looks so messy, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna need a ton of Bondo. Well, actually, that I did not. So I am gonna start figuring out what to do for a piece of metal for this. So I'm gonna probably do what I did over on the rear of the fender and cut a strip and weld it down here. I may have to redo this, cut a strip in this shape and weld it in there, and then I'll have this taken care of. And then it's pretty much just, I don't know, there's maybe a curve this way and a curve this way, and then maybe a third piece this way that I'll have to do. I'm not sure. It's going to be kind of like the other one. I'm going to have to do relief cuts and everything to get it to fit right, and yeah, we'll see. Well, we're forming up this piece. You can see how I'm doing it with relief cuts and everything, and just kind of working my way around. I'm taking breaks not to overheat the metal too much and warp it. We're getting there. I'm gonna have to cut another piece around here, I think, obviously, because of the hole. All right, we got that roughed in pretty good. That is not bad. I know my welds look like junk, but again, with this buzz box and thin sheet metal, they're getting ground down. You start blowing holes and chasing pinholes, and you just can't set it right. You got 2 heat settings, minimum and maximum. They need some more heat settings, is what I'm saying. Anyway, I think we got this well on the way. I just threw some metal in there. Camera went dead when I was doing all of this stuff, so as it is wont to do, Over here, this doesn't go straight down. It kind of curves in at the same time. It's kind of it's a complicated thing. It's a little compound. But I think I managed to match it fairly decently. And I took my time, and I don't think I warped the metal just too bad. So I think we preserved our shape here. I traced where it came around here because this is the line for this is the tight body line curve here, and you don't really want to mess that up. But it kind of blends together back here. It starts to blend together, and I think I managed to preserve that anyway. We're getting there. I like to coat with primer a little early in the process, maybe earlier than some people, because I can see some imperfections better in the curves and the body lines. There's a lot more sanding to be done, but we are getting there, and we're getting some nice smooth body lines. And well, we will have some nice smooth body lines. Just had to fill just a tiny bit of a low area there to get it absolutely spot on, and just did some smoothing there, and I'm gonna sand it, and yeah, we're getting there. Okay, I think we are ready for paint on this fender. It is not 100% perfect, but it'll never be as perfect as a new fender. She's not perfect, but she'll do the job. Alright, so in this one I think we're going to paint the fender, and we're going to paint some interior components like the glove box and the ashtray, and what else do we have? Oh, and that little thing that goes under the steering wheel. We'll paint all them, and maybe one of these days I can get the interior back together once I have enough parts done. We'll see. Alright, well, let's put a fender on. I guess I've taped the edge to kind of protect the paint. I was just smacking around putting it on. And we're gonna put this side on, and we're gonna get everything adjusted here. We're not gonna completely tighten this down until we get both sides aligned, because this might need to move just a hair. Not like that, more like just tiny adjustments, but we'll get the bolts started and everything, but we won't actually lock all this down until we have the whole front clip on here. So all this stuff is going to go on top of the fender liner, so it needs to go over the edge. Anyway, let's get all that going on there. All right, remind me never ever to do massive bodywork projects ever again. Small bodywork projects, okay. Never doing this again. I'm not good at it. I don't like it because I'm not good at it. Body gaps, again, not good. But I can't make them any smaller or the door is going to hit the fender. Body lines. I mean, yeah. There's body lines. Got the inner fender. Oh, I gotta put those last two bolts on. Got the inner fender in. She's nice and solid. Fender's on. Oh, it is a lot of work to do that, especially after you paint it, where you have to try to not damage the paint. So I think that for now, I'm not going to show you the body lines up close because they're absolutely awful, like the rest of my body lines. But you know what? It's on there. It's not rusty. It's solid metal underneath. It's not a Bondomobile. So, I mean, those are my main goals in bodywork these days. Yeah. Oh, it's a lot of work. Okay. I guess we can move on to getting the other fender ready and getting that ready to go. Yep, we're only half done with the fenders. Ugh. So at least we got one fender on. That's part one. Part two, we're gonna put the other fender on. We're gonna see what to do about the hood and the front part of it, the grill and the chrome and all that, hopefully. So if you want to see that, feel free to subscribe, comment, tell me what I'm doing wrong down below. And as always, thanks for watching.